Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for our first ever Convos with Couples. A new boo doesn't change you. I'm Kendrick Bailey,
I'm Natoya Davis Henderson. I'm a licensed professional counselor.
And my name is Miriam Jackson Hamilton, and I'm also a licensed professional counselor.
and like I said, I know everyone tuning in. They're used to seeing us go live on the Take the Journey page as well as our progress page. But tonight we wanted to do something really, unique, something special. So relax, get your coffee, get your tea, and join us for a great conversation and discussions about relationships. And so let's frame the discussion. Have you ever been in a relationship where you had to change yourself for someone else? And so what we want to kind of shed light on is oftentimes when we get in relationships, we sometimes pretend to be someone that we're not. And
Yeah.
so we start relationships on false pretenses. And so what we want to talk about is in order to have a healthy relationship, we have to start the relationship off the right way. So being your real self and being comfortable instead of letting that imposter, take place and pretending to be something you're not, which as the relationship goes on, it can present challenges and other things. What do y'all think?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is so true. I think a large part about it is just, knowing who you are. In the relationship, we all have different roles, but just knowing who you are and what that role is, it helps so much, when we're talking about um, knowing you.
Kendrick and Natoya, I would have to say yes. There have been times when I think I've even been like, I might try to pretend to be somebody I'm not so that I can count because I really like somebody. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
can relate to that question, Kendrick, a lot. Whether it's you're gonna pretend to not like a certain food or
Yeah.
you're gonna pretend to be a certain way because you think they might like you more if you're this way. I think that's all in our head sometimes. But
Yeah.
yes, I can relate to that question a lot.
Yeah.
And I think other
Yeah.
people can too if we just decide to be real with
Yeah.
ourselves. At some point in all
Definitely.
our lives, we've done that.
Okay.
Definitely. When you're thinking about it, um, changing you, how sometimes, you meet this person, and we don't say this is when we were younger, okay? How we do a lot of stuff. But anyway, how you meet this person and you think, well, they like a person that's this way, or we have this in common, or whatever it is, you're trying to magnify whatever that is that you think would draw them into you more. Which is common. We've all tried on different behaviors, in order to get to who we are. But yes, that's yeah, I can yeah say that I have as well, Miriam.
Do you think it could be a thin line kind of between being nervous and trying to pretend to be somebody that you're not?
Hmm.
I mean, I think that's
Just a thought.
I think it's a good question. So sometimes being nervous, we can, hold back on who we really are. But also, I want to pose this question to you as women. You know,
Mhm.
being a strong black woman. Do you
Mhm.
feel like you have to, limit who you are when you've ever been in a new relationship because someone wasn't ready for what you brought to the table?
Woo.
Well,
Okay.
I met my husband young, so I didn't have to deal with, who I am now as a woman.
Yeah.
But I think that if I was in that role now, yes,
Yeah.
a man would
Yeah.
probably have a really hard time dealing with who I am as a person, being a
Yeah.
strong black woman. I
Yeah.
know what I want. I don't have a problem with saying what I want, and a lot of people can't handle that. They
Yeah.
want you to pretend to be this little baby girl that's clueless.
Okay.
Yeah. But a large part of that is having a strong black man behind you to support you. Now you're married. My husband, I can say the same. I don't have to pretend. But if we're talking about, let's just look at maybe when in grad school, or just in college in general. and you're at a point in your life, you're trying to do better. And so you got a degree under your belt. You really begin to become a threat in so many ways then, and then in that sense, it makes them feel like, well, I don't have to do A, B, C, D, because, she got it. But then it also intimidates them in that way as well, if that makes sense. I think that can be a double-edged sword type thing.
Do you think sometimes that men like the damsel in distress type of woman?
Well,
they kind of
look, I would know that ain't me.
That's not me either. So I don't know how to be that type of woman. Never have, but I think some men, maybe you can answer that, Kendrick. Do you think some men may be drawn to the woman that they have to help or who may need them more?
I guess it's that hero complex.
Yeah, but that's a great point. I think some men do want women that they feel like need them, but also that they can rescue, but also that they can control. And so all those things are blurred into what you were saying, because as you and Natoya was talking, I wrote down sometimes men perceive women as a threat, and so and then sometimes they want to help them or sometimes they want to rescue them. So if a man perceive a woman as a threat, then a lot of time it's like playing chess. You're trying to gain ground or find some control where you can be dominant. And in relationships, that can cause a lot of challenges because in healthy relationships, we don't want to have this struggle. It's like tug of war. We kind of want to just kind of move, with one another. So we kind of moving at the same beat. But I think a lot of times in a relationship, we can have that power struggle, if we can't be our real self.
That's true.
We have to welcome the strong components about ourselves and help each other refine the areas of growth in relationships, because you may be great at financial things in a relationship. Your husband may be great at planning things, but if he always has to be the best at everything, then you have to, always submit and be someone that you're not when you want to step into their role and lead. And so in relationship, we got to be comfortable with leading at different times. My wife lead with different things in our relationship, and I may lead in different things, and I'm okay with that. But as far as our viewers out there, when you get in a relationship, knowing that it's okay to go back and forth between following and leading, as when you're dating, but also when you get in a more serious relationship and get married.
Yes.
You made a good point. It's just finding the proper balance. And what stood out from what you just said, sometimes if that struggle, it comes up sometimes. But what I find is what happens is if one person, in the couple is taking on a majority of this or a majority of that, it becomes a burden. Whatever that task is, whatever that set of tasks or their responsibility is. So it helps to kind of just, have an open mind, give and take. Well, you did that this day. Well, I'll do it this day. That type of thing. Where that give and take come into place at, I guess I'm trying to say. And that goes back to being flexible as well, not just being set in your ways either, It goes to that too.
Natoya, that was some good points. It made me think about him using the word submit. And I was already thinking about being submissive. And as strong Black women, a lot of times we're read wrong. People kind of look at us and think, oh, she'll never. And I think sometimes as Black women, we need to learn how to sometimes say, okay, you can have your way here. It can't always be our way. So in some ways, we do need to learn to be a little submissive and, give and take. And I don't know. I think sometimes some men just automatically think, oh, all Black women.
But and that's the key in that is give me something to submit to.
That's good. That's good.
And that's something, no, you take the lead. I will allow you to take the lead. But you give me something to submit to,
That's good.
And that's the same thing. Just because you're the man, you think, oh yeah, I'm the man because I wear the pants, whatever. No, I have it's in the pudding.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband
No,
always say, "Follow me if I'm following God. If I'm not following
Yes.
God, then don't follow me."
Amen. Yes.
I think both of you made some valid, points. Give me something to submit to, and I think that goes for both parties because a lot of times we miss a lot in relationships because of the dating phase. And I always tell people dating is getting to know one another.
Yeah.
So that's looking at your family history, their family history, and having a real discussion about what each of you bring to the table as far as the baggage, because everybody's gonna have baggage. And so being honest about what we learn from parents about relationships, but then knowing as we date and as we form a stronger bond, and then if it moves towards marriage, then we develop the keys or components to what our healthy relationship may look like. And so I think that's good. But like I said, definitely some great points. Let's tackle this next question. So does being in a relationship fix your problems?
No. If you have problems, I'm not saying that no one, we all have problems, but you can't go in a relationship expecting that relationship to fix it. As a therapist, I remember one of my professors saying to me, that's why I'm so big on every therapist having a therapist. Everybody needs somebody to go to. Because whatever you're running from or whatever you don't want to face, that's going to be your biggest problem. If you know you got trust issues, you need to be working on yourself. You need to be doing whatever you need to do to fix that because it's going to be an even bigger problem in your relationship.
Okay. No, that's good.
I agree with that. And I just jot it down. Weaknesses are magnified a lot of times. Our struggles and our problems. Because the question asked, does being in a relationship fix your problems? Sometimes they magnify them because certain problems cause certain vulnerabilities in our life as well. And so once we enter into that relationship, if we know that that's one of those areas, and we're already struggling with that, it can be magnified and cause them to become a lot worse. So definitely we have to first know what those problems are in order to fix them.
Yes, that's right. Alexis is really saying some good stuff over there on that line.
Yeah, she's very active.
Why do you think some people get in relationships prematurely before they really establish a solid foundation?
Fear.
For me, you want to say it, Miriam?
You want to speak to the fear? So
okay, go ahead.
Fear and insecurities, I think, and a lot of times trying to run from your problem. So the way I run from it is I go and I connect with somebody else, so then I don't have to deal with it. But I think it's fear and insecurities.
And what I was about to say as well, from what I've experienced from being a counselor, personal life, from just talking to friends, my family, from what I gather is that some people feel like that's the only love that they have, that relationship, So I know, even though it may not be a stable relationship, even though we know, girl, come on now, but they feel as if I know he loves me, I know she loves me, because a lot of times, like you were saying, Kendrick, earlier, we have to go back to family history. And a lot of stuff that happened then was not resolved, and so it comes out in these relationships. And a lot of times that's why we stay and that's why we are in relationships, for that, just that love and security. And whether false not true,
Yeah. And I definitely think sometimes we rush in getting into a relationship and we don't get a chance to know each other. And when we rush and do things, we miss a lot of key opportunities to learn about one another.
That's true.
Like I said, while you're dating, you're really learning a lot of things about each other. And so if you don't get in the dating phase and really, ask the tough questions, but learn to have fun with each other
Yeah.
and learn that it's okay to challenge one another and just not accept anything. I think you miss opportunities if
Mm-hmm.
you don't date well enough and then rush into the relationship
Yeah.
because you want to save what you have. Because a lot of times the first parts of the relationship is really can be about lust and
Mm-hmm.
it's really about the rituals of doing things instead of the relationship. And I think people get relationships confused with rituals. So
Mm-hmm.
ritual is I pick you up every night at a certain time. We go to the movies. We go out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those are the things we do. A relationship allows you to talk about who you are, the areas that you want to grow, the things that you may feel that you're lacking in, and you really talk about the vulnerability piece of where you are.
Yeah.
Because I think
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability breeds, strength, and it allows two individuals to join and connect. But if we're not able to be vulnerable together, how can we have a healthy relationship?
Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about those rituals are something, and I'm not gonna say sometimes, but they can be superficial, because it can be we're doing this in the beginning. I want to woo you in, but you all know whatever you do together or him, you have to
You
continue doing
gotta,
it after
yes.
the relationship. And so that's why I say it can sometimes be superficial, and then that cause the mate, whoever's in the relationship, cause them to feel like, oh, this is it. I got my checklist. He's 6 feet, he this and he opened the door for me and doing all this. So your checklist, you checking everything out, but is it
Mhm.
sustainable? Will it last? And so that's why I say a lot of times it's superficial, and that goes back to the dating phase, getting to know them. Because some people rushing, fast in relationships, and then after 3 months they're married, and then what do we see a lot of times? It's over within 1 month. So we have to take our time and give it time so that we can get past the superficial stage of of dating, or whatever you want to label it as, getting to know each other, because sometimes it could just be a facade.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I
I'm
like
gonna
it.
say something a little different because I think I'm a little different
Mm-hmm.
because I've been dating my husband since I was in high school. So we've been kind of stuck at this thing for
That
a
is
long
so
time. I mean, we dated for years. He put a ring on my finger after 3 months, and I knew I had to go to college. I had to get a degree. I had things I had to do before we could even get married. We did the marriage counseling before we got married. It was a
Yeah.
requirement for my parents for me to get married. But I still gotta say, Kendrick and Latoya, I saw my husband even more after I said I do. And I'm
Yeah.
sure he's probably gonna say the same thing about me. You know,
Yeah.
and even after children came into play and how I began to evolve,
Mhm.
some negative, some
Yeah.
good, but I still had so much that I needed to learn and get to know about him. And a lot of my healing
Hmm.
has taken place with him simultaneously. And I
Yeah.
think that was because I was so young. But some stuff
Yeah.
I had to take, I did have to take the time and work through myself. But some stuff, because I was so young, we worked through it together. I don't
Yeah.
know if anybody else that's listening probably can relate to my story too. But something else that you said that kind of stuck out to me, Latoya, was you said a checklist. And as women,
Now
every
we
woman got
make
a
them
checklist.
checklists.
Every woman got a checklist. They got to be this or that. They got to, whether it's a physical checklist, a financial checklist,
Yeah.
whatever. Every woman got a checklist. But this is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm gonna say to every woman: you got a checklist, but men got checklists too.
So do. That's
They
the
don't want
truth.
no scrubs.
That's the truth.
So what are you bringing to the table as a
Yeah.
woman? Because I've had conversations with a lot of women, and they be like, "Oh, he this, he that, he got this kind of job. But what you doing though?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I guess a man can fall in love with somebody that ain't really doing nothing. But my thing is, what are you bringing to the table, ma'am? And that's my
Yes,
question to the
definitely.
women here. Like, we can have a checklist, but are we preparing ourselves for the people that we say we want? Are you that person? Because a
Yes.
lot of
And
us, we
then,
expect, we meet men and want them to be something that we not even.
yeah, and you have to be fair in that way, you know. And then with those checklists, like you said, they work both ways, you know. So what are we bringing, and can we hold up to the checklist that the males may have, you know? Because I think a lot of times, if you're really dealing with a mature male, he's gonna want something deeper than just, you know, what we be looking for, you know, oh girl, he's tall, he's a nice drink of water. But that, you know,
Look, that's
can
why
she
you
bear
get them.
children? Can she raise them well? You know, those deep, important questions we have to get to, because that's what's gonna land.
Have
That's
you been in
what's
a
gonna land.
conversation, Latoya, with some women that's like, he was with that woman and she was fine and they was together for blah, blah, blah years. And then he got with that woman for
And
3 months
marriage.
and he knew he wanted to be with her. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I really don't think it really matters what you look like.
It
My
does
mama
not. We
always
have to
said
get
at the end of
beyond
the
it.
day, we all gonna be ugly. We gonna be old, we
Yeah,
gonna be
and girl,
swollen.
imagine after 24 babies.
Mm. So I definitely think y'all brought up some great points. The checklist definitely comes in play for both parties. So men have their checklist, women have their checklist. Some of the things that I wrote down was superficial, stability, and then I wrote down the word posture, because we have to have our posture right. So so we have to be ready to receive, but
Yeah.
we also have to be ready to give. Because my posture, when I give, I'm pushing something out. When I receive,
Yes.
my hands are held out, and we got to be able to pour into our spouses, or pour into
Definitely.
people that we're dating, because the point that you talked about, Miriam, is sometimes we get married at a young age, and how do we keep the things relevant and active, and intimacy and all those things going in
Yeah.
our relationship? You have to constantly evolve with one another. And I always tell people that we renegotiate the terms of our contract and our relationship, because as we learn new things, then we have to add those things into the contract and negotiations of our relationship, because your relationship is a partnership. So you can
Mm-hmm.
negotiate things as the relationship continues to exist. And if we start looking at relationships that way, then we constantly work at them.
Yeah.
Yes,
But if
yes,
we don't look at relationship as partnerships, sometimes the fire goes out is because we stop working. And
yes.
That's
so
true.
I just wanted to throw it out there before we move, to our next point. The either
Kendra,
one of
that's
you
good.
go ahead.
That was so good. It
It
made me think
was.
about growth, because
Yeah.
so many times we get married and we expect our spouse to be the person that they were the day we said I do. We're not the same people. We
Right.
change. We have to allow our spouses to evolve as well. And
Yes.
that's just a part of being in a relationship.
Yeah.
It's
And
hard
to
sometimes.
yeah. And to that note, I know we have to move on to the next question,
No,
but you
go ahead.
know, okay, throughout life, individuals, we develop, we grow, and so do relationships. You know, there are stages of development, and as you're in the relationship, you go from a different stage to different stage to different stage. Sometimes they regress. You know, it's not like a linear thing. You know, but you go from different stages in relationship, and you have to be able to change. You have to be willing to change. You have to be in a posture that allows you to change in order for that relationship to continue growing.
No,
That's something that I learned. My husband taught me, just through marriage. That's something that I learned firsthand through experience. Um, yeah, so definitely, especially being in the doctoral program, and just had so many things going on in my personal life. He had stuff going on in his personal life, just careers, working and things like that can sometimes pull you apart, but I have to brag a little bit on my husband. Christ. I'm not, because what God allowed him to do. But anyway, he was there. He was that man for me going through the doctoral program. I did not have to worry about a thing because I knew he had me, and vice versa, as he got his specialist, and you have to be able to do that. From relationships, they're not gonna look the same. I didn't want my relationship to look the same from when we first began dating. I don't know.
Nah,
Yes.
So it has to continue to grow and evolve, and we have to allow that change to happen.
no, that's good. And for those of you just joining us, combos with couples is our overall topic, but a new booth doesn't change you. And so if you just joined in, comment in the comment section as we continue to tackle these different questions and give you different perspectives on relationships. All right, let's see the next question. If you don't love yourself, can you accept love from someone else? I mean, that's a big question
It
because
is.
I think
It's a
most of the time we get lost in searching for something that we should find in ourselves first. So a lot of time we search for love when we have to first love ourselves first. So I always talk about the mirror. And so if you can't love what you see in the mirror and respect what you see in the mirror and have a plan for what you see in the mirror, how can you have a plan and respect a relationship when you don't know how to treat yourself? I think we often get lost in that part when starting relationships because we go to looking for something that we didn't have. And men and women do it. It can be as simple if we came from an unstable home, we look for what we didn't have. It can be as simple as not having experiences, we look for what we don't have. And we look for somebody else to give us the things that maybe we didn't have. What do y'all think about that?
Oh yes, I definitely agree with that. And going to your mirror example, looking in the mirror, you see yourself, but sometimes you run from those things that you don't want to see, those things that hurt, And so, just with that, a lot of times when we're trying to love ourselves, if we can't love ourselves, if we don't know how to love ourselves, we won't be able to receive it in a relationship because all we know is what we know. And if I'm running from those flaws, if I think I'm loving myself, and so in this relationship that I'm going in, he's gonna show me what I'm showing myself because he can't show me anything different than what I'm showing him.
Yeah.
Now, on that note, I will say it will take a lot of work to get past some of those barriers if you're in a relationship with someone who cannot love themselves. It's possible, but to get past those barriers will be hard because first they have to feel like I'm worthy of being loved. It's okay. Somebody else can love me, and sometimes from that we have to love people so that they can love themselves.
My
No, that's
thing is,
great.
what does love look like? What love is to you, Natoya, that may not be what love is for me. And that takes me to the languages of love. You may like quality time. I may want
Yeah,
gifts and things
that's true.
done for me. But if I don't love myself, I don't know what I want. And what I tell a lot of women is you have to love yourself because men a lot of times, and even us, all we do is pick up on the last person you love. So you want to love the new person the way you love the old person.
No,
You can't love me the way you loved your ex, baby.
right,
So a
You're
lot of
gonna,
right.
you're
times
gonna
we
have to say
have
that one more
to,
time, Miriam. You're gonna have to say that one more time for me.
you can't love me the way you loved your ex. I'm not that
Mm-hmm.
woman. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother woman. What made her smile may not make me smile.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
so true.
have to teach people how to love you. But if you don't love yourself, that means that you don't know how to love yourself. So you can't tell someone else. So all you're doing is adding fuel to the fire because even if this person really loves you, you can't accept it. And if they said, what can I do? No matter what they did, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't matter because you don't even love you.
Yeah, that's true.
No, that's
So how can you begin to show how someone else, or teach someone else to love you, So that's so true, Miriam.
not that's
Because
good. Oh, go ahead, Miriam.
I was just gonna reiterate that a lot of times that's all we know how to do. All I can do is love the way I know how to love.
Know how to love, yeah.
And if that's how I love the last man in my life, then I'm gonna love you the way I loved him. If that means I'm gonna buy you some Jordans, and that means I love you, I'm gonna do that to you too. Or you know what I'm saying? Or what if that woman think that he hit me upside my head? That's love. You know?
Yes, I was just thinking that.
You gotta know what love is, because she might get a man that don't want to put his hands on her, and she looking at him like, you don't love me because you don't fight with me. No, he love you. That's why he don't fight with you.
That's one of those barriers, definitely.
But I think a lot of time we don't think we deserve love, and then so we don't know how to receive it for ourselves.
So we jeopardize it,
and so therefore we can't give it. But both of you brought up points about what we saw growing up. So as kids, we learn to imitate and mimic what we see. And so experience, those things start to play out in our lives. So when we start dating, we go back to what we know. Okay, this what I thought love or dating was, so this what I'm gonna do. And what I would encourage everyone to do is find out who you are at the core. Find out what you like and find out what you dislike, because then you know what you will accept and what you won't accept. It's not good to eat off of everybody's plate, because what they serving might be spoiled for you. And
I'm telling you.
Sometimes we just take people. And so you can't take what people give you, because then what you take demonstrates to them how you see yourself. If someone respects themselves and love themselves, it's hard for them to just take what somebody gives to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. It is. Because at that point, you know your value, you know your worth, you know that I am worthy of being loved. I am loved. And a lot of times, this might be slightly off topic, but might not. A lot of times, after we see women in relationship, what's the first hashtag y'all see? Self-love, loving me and my kids. So where was that in that relationship? And sometimes to me that can be a warning sign, just a sign, screaming for help sometimes,
Yeah.
So
and a lot of times when you see the word self-love, they're doing the opposite. It's this misconception of what self-love really is. Self-love is really taking care of you mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. But a lot of times we get out of relationships, we hurt, and we throw out the word self-love. But then we do the opposite. We go jump in another relationship, or we out binge drinking and doing, we're not taking that time, because truthfully, self-love, it start out, it's painful, truthfully, because you have to see yourself for who you really are. And a lot of times what we looking at, when we really look at ourselves, we're not pleased. We're our biggest critics. And if I can do anything else other than look at myself, I'll keep doing it.
So I want us to speak to Alexis' point. But if you're never taught your value, your love will always be a misconception. And so one of the things we have to learn is what our worth is. And a lot of people don't know their worth.
It's true.
So it's not something that somebody else, no one can teach me what my worth is. That's something that I have to, find out for myself. Because if you don't think you're worthy and or worth much, you'll get involved in all type of entanglements,
anything,
in situations or situationships, or it's complicated, or
we ain't labeling it. Ship.
Yeah, you get involved in all type of things, and you accept all type of things because you don't know your worth. So everybody, I encourage and challenge you to find out what your worth is, and it should be infinity, or whatever is equivalent to infinity when it comes to work. You're priceless. You're the most valuable gem that's out there.
A lot of times people base their value on what they think other people think of them. And a lot of times, if you go back to the adults that we look at who are hurting,
Yeah.
Why do you feel this way? Well, when I was growing up, they told me I was this, I was ugly, or
Yeah.
I was going, and then you started to say that stuff to yourself. What are you saying to yourself? Ask yourself that. For everybody that's listening, what self-incriminating thoughts do I think about myself on a daily basis that make me feel bad? I do it. I have to sometimes catch my own self. I have to say, hey, that ain't you. You more than that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, I like Alexis' point again. Hurt people. But I think one of the things in our society that we don't talk enough about is men and being those offenders of being hurt, but also putting out the hurt on other people, in their relationships or the things that they do. A lot of men hold on to their thoughts and their pain,
Yeah.
but they are habitual offenders of hurting people. And so sometimes they got to be honest and real with themselves and check themselves in the mirror as well and understand that the reason that they do some of the things they do is because it's coming from an area of pain. And one thing I share with men, you can't do enough to rid yourself of the pain. You can't do enough of anything. Anything that feeds you like an addict or feeds you like a drug, you can't do enough to rid yourself of pain. The only way to rid yourself of pain is to be vulnerable and experience it and understand what was the purpose of it, where it came from, and then learn from it. You
So how
know,
do we get our men to that moment of change though, Kendrick? Because so many men are out there in the world who still haven't had that moment of I'm hurt and they're still running. So
Yeah.
how do we get the men to say, okay, I need to sit down and deal with this?
Mhm.
Because you see women doing it a lot of times. I know I need to go see my therapist. I need to sit down. I need to work with this.
Yeah. I think that's still one of the biggest challenges. I think having, real conversations and normalizing, discussions that is everybody goes through pain, and holding on to your pain can, wear you out before it's meant to wear you out. Is you always use this, example. Anybody can carry a backpack for a certain amount of time, but that backpack with 10, pounds in it, if you carry it for 10 miles, it's gonna start to weigh you down. If you carry it for 30 miles, it's gonna start to weigh you down. You carry it for 100 miles, it might break you down. So we carry our burdens too long because in our society sometimes it's not okay to express the storms that you go through. But I think we have to get on different platforms and welcome it, having these conversations. But I also think that, men have to man up and not hide behind their pain and not use it as an excuse to continue to hurt people. And, face themselves in the mirror and say, hey, you need to change and you need to adjust yourself and get yourself together.
Yeah.
Yes.
And on that note too, we know this, just the pleasure principle, I guess you could say. We'll do whatever we can to avoid pain and seek pleasure. And so for a lot of men, what I found in working with men is that a lot of times they're willing to, temporarily sit in that pain because something has happened. I mean, I'm at a point where I don't know what else to do. Like I'm falling on my face. Something has happened. She left. She gone with the kids. I gotta do something, And so moments like that, sometimes causes them to begin to realize, okay, let me be more vulnerable about what has happened to me. Now, I don't know if it'll last, if it's sustainable. From a lot of times from what I've seen, it's not. But when they're in the most pain in that moment, they're willing to do something to avoid that pain, and that's a lot of times coming in for treatment or saying, hey, well, let's have a conversation, because sometimes it's hard to get them to even have conversations about tough, serious things that are going on, because those conversations make them uncomfortable and cause those feelings of discomfort, pain, or uneasiness, or it makes them look a certain way, or whatever the case may be. So I think a lot of times, until they're forced, like with light, like boom, you gotta face it now.
Yeah.
You know, that's when they'll come in. Other than that, I don't think if it's not a necessity for them in that moment in their life, then a lot of times, like Kendra said, they will continue on. I'm carrying this 100-pound bag until I can't carry it no more. The rock's falling out this bag, but guess what? I'm still carrying it with me because
Yeah.
it, you know, it's functional, I guess, for them that way.
Yeah. It's definitely
And
comfortable.
two, I think it's learned because I think for every man, probably from the age of 20 and above, at some time when you were a child, somebody probably spanked you and didn't even let you cry.
Yeah,
You know, just think about
yeah,
how men, as children, they've been taught to hold in
yeah,
emotions. You
Mhm.
know, even think
yeah.
about
I
I've
just
even been
thought about
told,
it. That's
you
why
better not
I
cry
laughed.
before you better quit crying before I give you
I
something
give
to
you
cry
something to cry
for.
for.
You
Yes,
know,
I
they
think they
taught
got
us
spanked.
to suck it up. And
Mhm.
I specialize in geriatric therapy. And a lot of my men, they'll tell you, men don't cry. And my
Mm.
women don't get angry.
Yeah.
Older women don't show emotion such as anger. And the older men
Yeah.
don't cry at all. So I think a lot of times it's taught, it's
Yeah.
learned.
So I definitely think those are some dynamic points y'all brought up. So if you just joining us tonight, Convos with Couple, a new boo doesn't change you. Like I said, we've talked about a lot of great things in regards to relationships, and we're gonna pull up our last question of the night, which is, can you start a new relationship bringing in issues from your old relationship? So all I would say is this, and I'll move it to Miriam and Toya. Don't bring old baggage to a new house.
Mm.
Don't bring old baggage to a new relationship.
You can start it, but it ain't gonna last. That's what I have to say to that question because we know, going through life, going through different events, different things, different experiences that happen to us, they leave certain imprints on us. So we know some of that stuff is gonna naturally come over, but we have to really and truly do a self-evaluation, when we're transitioning because it's a period of transition. So when we're transitioning into a new relationship from an old relationship, we have to really do that self work, in the period and just assess, where am I? I know y'all did me like this, but those is not mine. And we have to really be able to point out and just identify that this is a new relationship, because if we carry that old stuff into the new relationship, then the new relationship gonna soon be old too. So,
I'm gonna say this. In this day and time, most times when you meet somebody, they already got kids. They
yeah,
they, they probably got an ex, wife, or so in
yeah.
a sense, we come with baggage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we have to choose what we gonna take out of the bag and leave at the door and not bring into another relationship. Because
That's
of
true.
course you have to navigate relationships with children, which can be difficult, extremely difficult, and can be almost considered baggage, but it comes with the territory. When you meet
Right.
somebody that got kids, it comes with it.
That's just, yeah.
But you do have to decide what I'm gonna take out. And when you meet people who already come with stuff, it does make it very difficult. And that's why I'm gonna say therapy is so important that you work through so you can figure out what we have in common and what we don't have alike, so we can figure out where we're gonna go. Because so much
Mm-hmm.
time I feel like has been wasted with people sometimes when you probably should have just asked the hard questions from the jump. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think that is something. Let me say this, Kendrick. So many times we dance with people a little too long. Like, it's good to date, but sometimes I think we even give people a little bit too much time. We know after the third date, look, I ain't got time for this.
Mm.
This is a warning sign right here. I think I need
I'm
to get
telling
on
you,
down.
you one of warning signs, girl.
But because we like to feel their hand up against our back, when we sway to the music, we sway a little bit longer.
Mhm.
And all we doing sometimes is getting ourselves in trouble. when you see the warning signs, sometimes it's good to say, I'm gonna get on, I'm gonna go on, I'm gonna get on down. Because some people cannot, they can't decide what needs to stay at the door. My ex-wife, she can stay at the door. You know, because sometimes they want to bring everything from that last relationship into this, but
yeah.
my
And
opinion.
some things are unavoidable, like you said, but more so from those, different learned behaviors, I put it that way, that are not healthy. Definitely we have to drop those at the door, because they won't help the relationship in any way, and they'll more so be a hindrance in the relationship. So those things that we know that we do, that we can stop.
And who want to hear about their ex all the time? You ain't got that many times to bring that chick up around me.
I'm telling you. You know what the question? Do I still want her?
I think y'all need to have each other.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is patterns, and so bringing old things into new relationships, you end up getting the same old, same old. So sometimes we have to allow things to die off and not bring them with us. So if we bring the same attitude, if we bring the anger, if we bring the lust, every relationship is an experience, and every experience is supposed to teach us something. So I learned from my last relationship that I wasn't going to accept somebody talking down to me or somebody talking loud to me, or I wasn't going to, accept somebody trying to control me.
Yeah.
And so I don't want that. But when I get into the new relationship, I allow these things to happen. And so what you allow will continue to happen. So if you don't, have boundaries in your relationship, places that you don't supposed to go, and if you don't check each other, that hey, this is what I won't accept, your relationship get old fast, and you wonder why you keep dating the same type of man or you keep dating the same type of woman. Is because you hadn't changed anything about yourself. Your relationships are just a cycle of repeated situations, and you hadn't learned from them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
That's true.
I think
What I wrote down
people
is
are attracted to certain type of people.
Yeah, people are attracted to dysfunction too.
Yes, and when things are calm, I got a problem. There has to be chaos, especially for people who grew up in chaos. Sometimes, not all the time.
Because that feels normal. We normalize chaos and dysfunction. And so when that's not going on, the chaos and that dysfunction, and we feel like something wrong. It's too quiet, that type thing. But what I wrote down from what you were saying, a person will treat you only how you allow them to. If you begin to set those boundaries and set those limits, then that's where the change will begin to come. So, but a large part of it first is we have to be able to change certain behaviors. I can't tell you, where I'm not gonna accept ABCD, and I'm still doing ABCD. So it working both ways,
Yeah.
No, that's good, because if I hadn't changed, I can't expect the new person I'm with to change, and so we end up bringing all the old things into our new relationship. Because if she doing this, I'm gonna do this. Well, if he doing this, I'm gonna do that. And I think Will Smith said it best. I can't make you happy. You have to make yourself happy.
That is,
You can't go and think that somebody else is gonna make us happy, because all the things that we do, that doesn't mean we're gonna find happiness. I can take you on vacations. We can have fun. We can relax. We can do all. I can buy you things. We can do all the things that you want to do, but happiness comes deep from within. I think when we get connected to what we want to be or who we said, then we change our stance on relationships and we stop accepting those same things. Now, the good thing is anything can change. The negative thing is sometimes people wait till they 50 and 60 before they change. And so you've lived a lifetime and you want to change at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Get in a new healthy relationship when you're 50 or 60, when you all you when you don't have you don't have
Ain't nobody got time
you
for
don't
that.
have the best to offer anyone. And and nobody wants to spend their time with grumpy people. And
That's
so
true.
definitely need to check ourselves. We definitely need to understand that at some point what I'm doing it's working right now. But as I get older, the thing that I fear will end up coming true. If I don't want to end up alone, but I'm doing all the things that will make me end up alone, I hadn't learned to break my patterns, and I hadn't learned that I might be pushing people out of my life instead of receiving them in my life.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Kendra, you made me think about something too. The world doesn't identify singleness as happiness. I think growing up, you know, everybody look at a woman. Natoya, you may be able to relate. When are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have children?
Mhm.
Does that mean happiness? I
No.
think the best thing I can teach my daughter is that happiness starts with you and you alone. Happiness doesn't come because you get a man. Happiness
Yeah.
Yeah.
doesn't come because you get children. They make that makes your life greater, grander, but you have to be happy by yourself. And like so many times I hear people say, he complete me. My parents told me, don't let nobody complete you. When you meet a man, you tell him you whole already. That was what my mama always
That's the
told me.
truth, though. That's the
You
No, I,
truth.
whole
I
already.
understand. I understand those words, and they ring true. We have to stop rushing in. There's no timetable on when you should get married. I'm gonna say this again. There's no timetable on when you should get married.
Yes.
It's good to stay single because you got to learn how to deal with yourself, and then you got to receive somebody that can handle all of you. So if you can't, if nobody is ready to handle all of you and sign up for what all you bring, then don't rush into a relationship. Take
Mm-hmm.
your time to figure out exactly what you will accept. And this goes for
Mm-hmm.
men. Because both the trend is now both men and women are getting married later. And
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for what can you offer me? What can you add to my life? And everybody needs to get their self together first. So, like you said earlier, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially, whatever, you got to have yourself together. Now, you don't have to be perfect because there's no such thing as being perfect.
Right.
You just have to be the perfect match for whoever you're going to be matched with. I'm gonna repeat that. You just have to be the perfect match for who's gonna be matched with you.
Mm-hmm.
If we're looking for perfection, we already lost. If we're looking for someone, that is willing, ready, and able to handle everything we bring to the table, that's a start. Because a relationship is a partnership. And a partnership is an agreement between, two or more people. But in this case, a relationship, two people. Now, people can sign on for all these things, and what you sign on for, you just gotta be willing to accept whatever consequences. Because there are some ships out there that involve more than two people.
Yeah.
All the people in the ship can handle what that brings, and that's for you. But the people that's looking for you know one and one for two, you have to have a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. A lot of times people I think they rush because you said they don't want to deal with themselves. And then they expect somebody else to deal with them. And you can't even deal
Yeah.
with yourself. You don't even, if I
Yeah.
left you in this room by yourself, you couldn't sit in silence. You couldn't even deal
Yeah.
with your own self, your
Mm.
own thoughts. But then you
Mm.
get with somebody and you expect them to know how to handle you.
Yeah.
When you don't have the instructions, you don't even know how to handle you.
Now, that's a good point. Some people need to come with an instruction manual or owner's
Yeah.
manual.
Look, I tell people all the time there is nothing wrong with telling your mate how to love you. Every now and
That's
then
what
I
we
throw
have
out
to
to my
do.
husband, hey, I want some flowers. It may not mean I'm gonna get them today. It's still gonna be a surprise, but yo, It's been a minute since I saw some flowers around here. I don't have a problem with saying that.
Yeah.
Or
we have to be
some
able
people
to
walk around with their mouth poked out. He didn't do this. Sometimes you got to help him along, honey. They don't always know how. If you got a man that know how, baby, you blessed. But sometimes
and a lot of times too, I feel like with that, Miriam, letting them know, and we definitely have to, just verbalize what we want. Verbalize, how we're feeling, definitely. And some of that too, though, I feel like it has to be an even balance there too, because we have to do what we have to do for self-care for ourselves as well.
Yes.
If I want flowers, there's nothing wrong, y'all. Let me go pick me out some pretty flowers, So nothing's wrong with that. You want your favorite chocolate? Let me go get my favorite chocolate. While I'm here, let me think about what Paul may want. I can grab him something. So that goes both ways, and we have to be able to deposit the same thing back into ourselves, so we won't, walk around the house. Long time.
It made me think about this too. We have to not only deposit into ourselves, but into our spouses. Because
we
always think that we're supposed to be catered to, and we forget that every now and then you need to run his bath water too.
I'm telling you.
People look at me sideways because I'm gonna fix my husband's plate, regardless. I don't care what's going on. You're gonna get served, baby. What you doing that for?
Serve Miriam.
Baby, you might need to try that, honey. That may be just what your man needs today.
We have to be able to do that.
Women, we get caught up in getting served, and we forget we have to be able to reciprocate.
Yes, because our mates are humans too. They have desires. It's not all about us. No matter what I tell myself sometimes, I know the truth. It's not all about us. So we have to, like I said, you at the store picking you something. Let me think about what my husband may want. Or vice versa. So like Kendra said, it's a partnership. In that partnership, there's give and take. It works both ways, and that's how we continue to flow and develop.
And Latoya, you're starting to read my mind because I wrote down give and take. So I like what both of you were saying. Deposit. We got to deposit things in ourselves, but we also have to deposit things into the people we're in relationships with. And relationships are definitely give and take. And you don't have to have a measuring cup to say, I got to give this much in this situation, and I got to pour this much, and I got to take this much. No, when you allow yourself to connect intentionally with someone and be vulnerable with one another, it creates a deeper level of intimacy that can't be replaced. We have to go to.
I agree, Renee. Hold on.
We definitely have to go to the places and not hold all our pain and hold all our secrets from the people that we're dating, from the people that we're in a relationship with, and from the people we're married with, because they're meant to help us or help us heal. They don't have to do things for us, but how they approach us may be the first step to your healing. Or how you approach them may be the first step to their healing. If you're gonna be in a relationship or a marriage with someone, don't be afraid to show your pain. Don't be afraid to show your hand. Have fun with relationships. Enjoy it. Try new things. Have time for yourself. Have time for your spouse or your mate, but have time for self. Because if you're not fulfilled, you can't pour in anybody else.
It's true, and we have to love, and be in relationship, because it's a state of being. So we have to be in a relationship. We have to be all poured out, and that's the only way that works both ways. You're pouring out, they're pouring out, and you all are pouring into each other so that you won't become empty. And that's how it works.
Well, Miriam and Latoya, I definitely appreciate y'all for joining us tonight. One of the things that I want people to be able to find you in the community. So take some time to share your social media or promote your business or whatever you need to promote right now.
All right, y'all can find me on Facebook 2 different ways. Latoya Davis Henderson on Facebook. That's my personal page, and I also have a private practice. And that Facebook handle is Davis Henderson CC.
I also have a Facebook page. You can find my personal page at Miriam Jackson Hamilton, and my private practice page goes by the name of Mended Hearts Counseling.
All right. And just to let y'all know, Convos with Couples, everything that we're talking about is based off the journal that, we wrote, A Journey to Healthy Relationships, Healthy Relationships, Healthy You, where we talk about the 5 components of healthy relationships. So if you don't have that journal and you want that journal to work with as an individual, you could do that. But if you want that to work with the person that you're dating, your husband, your wife, definitely get that and work 52 weeks to strengthen your relationship and learn more about one another.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, we definitely enjoy everybody. Thanks for showing up to the first Convos and Couples. A new boo doesn't change you, and be looking forward to this platform on Zoom, where we continue to move you forward and bring you new things. Thank you.
Hey, Tara, thank you all.